Hello, lovelies! Since the arrival of my beautiful baby boy Cole just a few weeks ago, I have been craving sweets. It's probably a combination of all of the sleepless nights and the constant breastfeeding, but all I want to eat these days is dessert. And so I thought it would be fun today to share a really simple 5-ingredient chocolate chip cookie recipe that has become my go-to during these interesting times in my life. There is just so much to love about this recipe. Not only is it made with just 5 ingredients, but it's also gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free, so you can feel really good about it. Now, to get started in my bowl, I have got some peanut butter. I'm using some smooth, natural peanut butter here. You could also swap in some almond butter or even some sunflower butter if you prefer in this recipe. But of course, I love the taste of peanut butter, especially when it's paired with chocolate chips. Yum! To my peanut butter, I am going to be adding some oat flour. So that's gonna be the body of our cookies. Now, oat flour can be found today at most supermarkets, but I have to say it is really, really easy to make yourself, so totally worth a try. All I did was take some old-fashioned rolled oats, gluten-free of course, pop them into my food processor. You could do this in a blender as well, and then just give them a whirl until they are nice and sort of powdery. And there you have it, oat flour. Now, if you did want to use some all-purpose flour in this recipe, you definitely could, or you could swap in some coconut flour instead. Both would be great options. I love the oat flour because, of course, oats are loaded with fiber. Next, for the sweetener in this recipe, I am adding some coconut sugar. You could also use brown sugar here if that's what you had on hand. I know a lot of you are going to ask if maple syrup or honey are options. To be honest, I haven't tried them myself in this recipe, but I get the feeling that they may make your dough a little too liquidy, so I would stick with solid sugars instead here. Now, traditionally in a recipe like this, I would use an egg, but if you want to keep this recipe egg-free, you could go ahead and use a flax egg. If you're not familiar with the idea of a flax egg, it's basically just some ground flaxseed that's been mixed up with a few tablespoons of water, and it works in very much the same way a traditional egg does to help bind your ingredients together. What I like about using flax egg is not only does flax have a lot of great nutrients, but Elle can help me with the cooking in the kitchen and I don't have to worry about her eating the dough because there's no raw egg in it. Always a good thing. So this is the base of our dough, really, really simple. I'm just going to get in here with my spoon and give it a good mix until it's well combined. And you can see very quickly, you get a really great doughy consistency when it starts to form. The final step is just adding in your mix-ins. As I said here, I am using some chocolate chips because I have just been craving chocolate like crazy, but you could really add any sort of mix-ins you wanted to. Some dried fruit, some nuts would be really good, or even some peanut butter or butterscotch chips would be super tasty. I'm keeping it classic. I've got some vegan chocolate chips headed in here, and I'm just going to fold those into my dough. And that's it, friends. Here is our dough. It's time to form our cookies. So one thing to keep in mind with these cookies is because there's no butter in them, they're not gonna spread out at all during the cooking process. So however you form them is pretty much going to be the shape of your cookie. I've got a small baking sheet lined with some parchment paper, and I'm just going to use my handy dandy cookie scoop to form my cookies. So I'm just gonna take a nice scoop of my dough like so, and then roll it into a ball first, and then smush it out a little bit. And then I'm just going to repeat that as many times as my dough will allow. Of course, I want as many cookies as possible. The other thing you could actually do with these, now that I'm thinking about it, is just pop them into the freezer and enjoy them raw. I mean, I think personally that they're tastier when they're cooked, but raw is actually a total option here. All right, guys, my cookies are fully formed. These are now headed into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for between 8 and 10 minutes, just until they're nice and golden. They smell amazing already. Can you imagine what they're going to smell like once they're baked? I'm excited. When they come out of the oven, they look a lot like they looked when they headed into the oven, but trust me, a lot has changed. They have this really beautiful texture that I think you guys are going to love, and they also smell amazing. You'll want to let them cool for about 5 minutes before digging in, but then pour yourself a nice big glass of milk and enjoy. They're soft and chewy, super satisfying, What an amazing snack. Do I have chocolate in my teeth? I hope you guys will give these yummy cookies a try for yourselves. And if you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Facebook me a photo because I always love seeing your kitchen creations. Remember, this recipe, like all of my recipes, is available on healthymealplans.com, our amazing meal planning site that allows you to browse more than 1,000 recipes, drag and drop them into your weekly meal plan, and then automatically generates your grocery list for the week. If you haven't checked it out yet, I really hope you will. And finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.